Stranded prey. The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon as my buddies and I anchored our little fishing boat off the coast of an unknown island. We were three adventurous souls seeking the thrill of the unknown, armed with fishing rods and a cooler full of cold beers. As the night descended, the stars emerged one by one, painting the sky with their celestial glow. The gentle lull of the waves against the boat was soothing, and the crackle of the campfire we built on the beach filled the air with warmth. We laughed, told stories, and indulged in the simple pleasure of fresh fish grilled over an open flame. But our laughter turned to apprehension when we heard strange, rustling noises coming from the dense foliage behind us. At first, we brushed it off as the sounds of nocturnal creatures going about their business, but when the rustling grew louder and more persistent, a sense of unease settled over us like a heavy shroud. That's when we saw them, tiny yet vicious creatures emerging from the shadows. They were like miniature raptors, with razor-sharp claws and gleaming eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. Panic surged through my veins as I realized we were not alone on this island. We scrambled to our feet, adrenaline coursing through our bodies as we fumbled for makeshift weapons. Our fishing rods suddenly felt woefully inadequate against the menacing creatures advancing towards us with calculated precision. With no other option, we bolted towards the safety of our boat, our hearts pounding in our chests. But as we reached the shoreline, we realized our worst nightmare had come true. The tide had risen and our boat was now stranded on the sandbar, unreachable and useless. Trapped between the relentless waves and the ferocious predators, we found ourselves facing a dire situation. With each passing moment, the treacherous closed in on us, their sharp screeches echoing in the night like a harbinger of doom. We retreated further inland, hoping to find refuge in the dense jungle, but the treacherous pursued us with unyielding determination. Every step we took felt like a gamble with death, our survival hanging by a thread as we navigated through the treacherous terrain. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, we stumbled upon a hidden cave concealed within the heart of the island. With no other options left, we sought sanctuary within its dark confines, praying that the creatures would not find us. For hours we huddled together in the suffocating darkness, our hearts pounding in unison with the rhythm of our fear. But as the first light of dawn broke through the canopy above, we dared to hope that we had outsmarted our relentless pursuers. As we emerged from the cave, blinking in the soft morning light, we realized that the island held many more secrets than we could have ever imagined, and as we made our way back to the shoreline, battered but alive, we vowed never to underestimate the power of nature's fury, or the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. As we cautiously made our way back to the shoreline, the eerie silence of the island enveloped us like a heavy cloak. Gone were the jovial banter and carefree laughter of the previous night, replaced by a tense silence broken only by the soft whisper of the wind through the trees. We approached the stranded boat with trepidation, eyeing the water warily for any sign of movement. The creatures could still be out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With bated breath, we waded into the shallow waters, each step a test of our courage and resolve. The boat seemed like a distant mirage, tantalizingly close yet impossibly out of reach. But just as despair threatened to consume us, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. A distant rumble echoed through the forest, growing louder with each passing moment until it reached a deafening crescendo. And then, like a beacon of salvation, a rescue helicopter emerged from the clouds, its rotors slicing through the air with a thunderous roar. We waved frantically, shouting for help as tears of relief streamed down our faces. The helicopter descended towards us, its powerful searchlight illuminating the shoreline like a guiding star. We clambered aboard with trembling hands, leaving behind the nightmare that had threatened to consume us. As the helicopter soared into the sky, carrying us away from the island and its deadly inhabitants, I couldn't help but marvel at the sheer resilience of the human spirit. We had faced the very brink of despair and emerged victorious, united in our determination to survive against all odds. And as the island disappeared from view, swallowed by the vast expanse of the ocean, I made a silent vow never to forget the lessons it had taught us, the fragility of life, the strength of friendship, and the unwavering power of hope. As the helicopter whisked us away from the island, a mixture of relief and disbelief washed over me. We exchanged glances, the weight of our shared ordeal evident in the lines etched on our faces. The adrenaline that had fueled our escape now began to ebb, leaving behind a bone-deep exhaustion. The journey back to civilization passed in a blur of noise and motion, the rhythmic thump of the helicopter's rotors lulling me into a daze. I couldn't shake the images of the tiny predators that had hunted us relentlessly, their primal instincts driving them to pursue us with unwavering determination. Hours later, we touched down on solid ground, greeted by a flurry of activity as emergency responders rushed to our aid. Paramedics swarmed around us, checking for injuries and offering words of reassurance. We were safe now, surrounded by the comforting presence of fellow humans. But even as we were ushered into the warmth of a waiting ambulance, I couldn't shake the feeling that our ordeal was far from over. The memory of the island and its deadly inhabitants lingered in the recesses of my mind, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of the world we inhabit. In the days that followed, we recounted our harrowing tale to anyone who would listen, our words colored by a mixture of disbelief and awe. Some dismissed our scary story as a mere figment of our imaginations, while others listened with rapt attention, captivated by the sheer audacity of our adventure. But for me, the island would forever remain a haunting reminder of the thin line that separates civilization from the untamed wilderness. It was a place where primal instincts reigned supreme, where survival was not guaranteed, and where the true measure of a person's strength lay in their ability to adapt and overcome. And as I lay in my hospital bed, staring up at the sterile ceiling above, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of the world, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to venture into the unknown. The summer sun beat down on us as we navigated the winding roads that led to Camp Timberland. It was a secluded spot nestled deep within the forest, far from the city. As we drove, excitement bubbled within us, eager for a weekend of camping, barbecues, and late-night stories by the fire. Finally, the campground came into view, its entrance marked by a weathered sign bearing the camp's name. The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut wood, and the sound of birdsong filled the air. Pulling into the campground, we were greeted by the sight of towering trees and spacious campsites, each with its own fire pit and picnic table. We quickly set up our tents, eager to explore our surroundings and soak in the beauty of nature. As the sun began to set, casting shadows across the forest floor, we gathered around the campfire, roasting hot dogs and swapping stories. The air was filled with laughter and chatter as we reminisced about old times and made plans for the weekend ahead. As the night wore on, the crackling flames of our campfire gradually dwindled, their fading glow casting elongated shadows that danced eerily around the campsite. In the midst of the quiet darkness, a sudden, ominous sound shattered the stillness. A distant crash as a tree toppled, its thunderous impact echoing through the forest. Bewildered, we exchanged nervous glances, the unnerving realization settling upon us that something was amiss. Despite the gentle breeze that rustled the leaves, the force required to fell such sizable trees seemed inconceivable, leaving us with a growing sense of unease that gnawed at our senses. As the night wore on, our senses remained on high alert, every rustle of leaves and distant creak of branches sending shivers down our spines. With each passing moment, the once familiar sounds of the forest took on a sinister edge, their innocent origins now obscured by the looming specter of unseen peril. In the oppressive darkness, our thoughts turned to escape, a desperate longing to break free from the suffocating grip of the forest and the unknown horrors it concealed. With bated breath, we waited for dawn's first light, praying for the promise of a new day to banish the shadows and reveal the truth behind the night's terror. At some point, exhaustion overcame our vigilance and we succumbed to the pull of sleep, seeking refuge in its fleeting embrace amidst the chaos of the night. Yet, our respite was short-lived, shattered by a bone-chilling scream that tore through the stillness of the night with a force that sent shockwaves reverberating through the tent. In an instant, we were jolted awake, hearts pounding in our chests, adrenaline coursing through our veins as we grappled with the horrifying reality of our situation. Every nerve in our bodies screamed with primal instinct, urging us to flee from the source of the terror that now lurked outside our fragile sanctuary. its malevolent presence casting a shadow of fear that threatened to consume us whole. With trembling hands and racing hearts, we exchanged frantic glances, a silent acknowledgement passing between us that the time for hesitation had passed. With swift, determined movements, we scrambled to gather our belongings, our actions fueled by the primal urge for survival that pulsed through our veins. Outside the confines of the tent, the forest seemed to hold its breath, a palpable sense of dread hanging heavy in the air, as if warning us of the impending danger that lurked just beyond the veil of darkness. With each step towards our vehicles, the oppressive weight of fear pressed down upon us, urging us to hasten our escape from the nightmarish nightmare that had engulfed us. As we peeled away from the desolate campsite, the echoes of the blood-curdling scream still ringing in our ears, a sense of relief washed over us, mingled with the haunting realization that we had narrowly escaped the clutches of a malevolent force that defied explanation. With the forest fading into the rearview mirror, we vowed never to return, our minds haunted by the horrors that lurked within its depths, a grim reminder of the fragility of our mortality in the face of the unknown.